in the West, it could be whether I'm trans or not, whether my skin color is dark enough or not. But the idea of identity politics has certainly shaped my deep aversion towards that ethos. But originally, I experienced it in Lebanon. So that would be one answer. But even more poignantly, understanding what happens to religious minorities in societies that eventually become dominated by Islam is one hell of a lesson to learn.
The influence of a society, how does it begin? What is the genesis? What affects the influence of a society? We have seen so many societies transition based on the influence that they are subjected to. Well, let's watch this analysis together and then we'll discuss it afterwards. Kindly subscribe to our channel so a little bit of light will push away a lot of darkness.
Identity politics, which is viewed as a laudable way to organize society in the West, certainly by one of the political parties, well, Lebanon is the ultimate manifestation of what happens to a society that is organized along identity, with the ethos of identity politics. In this case, it's your religion, but it could be in the West, it could be whether I'm trans or not, whether my skin color is dark enough or not. But the idea of identity politics has certainly shaped my deep aversion towards that ethos, but originally I experienced it in Lebanon. So that would be one answer. But even more poignantly, understanding what happens to religious minorities in societies that eventually become dominated by Islam is one hell of a lesson to learn. And so one of the things that I've kept, screaming from the top of the mountain. At first, very few people were listening to me. Now there's a bit more people listening to me, but in my view, not enough are listening, is that we need to decide whether it's a good idea to have more or less incursion of Islam in the West. Now, I hate to say this because I find it, frankly, it's offensive to have to always start with this preface. I know more Muslim people than most people will ever meet. All of them have been soccer player friends of mine, and we have fun together, and none of them have tried to kill me. And so the fact that I say that Islam is a profoundly antithetical ideology to our Western liberties and freedoms in no way is bigoted towards individual Muslims. So probably the most poignant and powerful lesson I've learned from having grown up in the Middle East as a Lebanese Jew is that you might want to carefully think about whether you wish to increase immigration from Islamic societies.
So what would you say to the argument that some people make, which is that you've got the Ottoman Empire for hundreds of years, and Jews and other minorities are living in, relative peace, and by relative I mean relative to Europe, where Jews are being persecuted left or right. And for many people, this is proof that Islam is not, or over the grand sweep of history, is by default less anti-Semitic than Christendom was. So what do you make of that argument?
Right. So I'll draw this analogy, and I'm not trying to be facetious towards you, but hopefully, analogical reasoning is an important tool to understand the veracity and power of an argument. Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy, if we look at the number of days that they lived, and we calculate the percentage of days of those days that they've lived where they've killed somebody, it'll come out to about 99.9% of the days that they lived, they never killed anybody. Yet nobody would say, but come on, bruh. I mean, John Wayne Gacy, you're talking about only 27 kids he killed, or whatever it was. That's 99.97% of the time where he was totally lovely to kids. So Islam is a very bad place for religious minorities to be. That doesn't mean that for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 1,400 years, they go about slaughtering everybody. The Ottoman Empire also had this little thing called the Armenian Genocide. So apparently, they were very nice until they weren't very nice to 1.5 million people. So I'm not in the least bit sympathetic to that argument. The other one that we usually hear is, but come on, Al-Andalusia, everybody lived in peace. Well, I can cite you all sorts of references, including a professor that specializes in this field at Northwestern, who tells us that Andalusia was anything but a cakewalk for Jews and Christians under Islamic domination. If you live as a dhimmi, that's the Arabic word for Ahl al-Kutub, which means in Arabic, the people of the book, meaning the Christians and the Muslims that live under Islamic dominion. We tolerate you, but we also pat you on the back and say, don't be too Jewish, Jew. And we also have to pray really hard that our daughter is not super sexy, because when my Islamic overlord comes to me and says, it's time to fork up that really pretty daughter, then I have to do it as a good little dhimmi. And so, yes, there were periods where it was worse to be Jewish under Christian dominion. That doesn't mean that I long for the day to be under Islamic rule.
And this is coming from a person who grew up in Lebanon, grew up under Islamic rule, and his keen insight is talking from experience. Our sages tell us there's no one wiser than a person who has experienced it. So the issue at hand is, it is hard for us in the West to truly comprehend and understand what Islamic religion is about and how it controls its people. It's so different than what we know, than what we grew up with. Unless we educate ourselves and we truly understand what Islam is about, it's hard for us to understand the threat that we are facing. And I use the word threat because that is exactly what it is. See, Judaism was born 3,337 years ago. It was born on Mount Sinai. This is a mountain in the desert. As the Israelites spent over 200 years in slavery in Egypt. And then Moses came to Pharaoh, and as we read in Bible the story that Pharaoh would not let the people go. And after 10 plagues, he relented and said, okay, you could go. And there's close to 3 million Israelites who had the Exodus. It's a huge amount of people. They left Egypt in the Exodus and made its way to Mount Sinai on its way to Israel. In its way, there was the splitting of the sea, the miraculous sea splitting. And then when they finally arrived at the mountain, there was a revelation that it was the only time in world history where God revealed himself. He descended on the mountain. He married the spiritual world with the physical world. It was a marriage. And we actually relive that marriage. Every time a groom and bride gets married, there's a canopy. That canopy on top represents the cloud that was hovering over Mount Sinai when God married us. The concept of marriage was that God went into a covenant with the Israelites. And he said, listen, I am going to bring you on as a nation who is going to be my ambassadors into the world. I'm going to give you a mandate. We're going to have a partnership in this. So it's not like the Israelites asked for it. God took them out of Egypt, revealed himself with amazing miracles of the 10 plagues, splitting of the sea, and then the revelation of Mount Sinai. But at that point, God said, okay, I'm going to give you the 10 Commandments. I'm going to give you the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. I'm going to give you a mandate and responsibility that your job is going to be a light unto the nations. Your job is going to be the people of the book. The people are going to not only teach what I tell you, but you're going to practice it. You're going to practice it to the final T of the letter. You're going to work hard. You're going to study and you're going to split hairs trying to understand the Bible in order so you could teach it to the rest of the world. And this is what the Jewish people, how they were born. They were born at Mount Sinai. They were born with the 10 Commandments in their hands and the 5 books of Moses. And now their mission has been to teach the world the code of ethics, morals that the Torah teaches. You see, up until the Torah was given, up until Mount Sinai, the world was in chaos. There was no law and order. There was no real form of rules and regulations of property boundaries or marriage boundaries. It was chaos. Comes Mount Sinai, comes the great revelation. God presented to the world not only law and order, but God also presented to the world a purpose, a reason for our existence. Why are we here? What is our mission on this world? Why were we born? Why are we living now? What are we supposed to do with our journey in life? It's not just about eating, sleeping, and enjoying life and being born and dying. There has to be more to it, and there is absolutely more to it. The day you were born, God said the world can no longer exist without you. You have a purpose in this world. You have a purpose to be a partner in creation and in making this world a better place. You have a part of God in you. You have a soul that keeps you alive. That's godliness. So you too have a purpose, a mission to make the world a better place, to make the world a dwelling place for God, where God's spirituality can dwell. So this is the Jewish mission. We are obsessed with life. We're obsessed with spirituality. We're obsessed with God. Our compass, we know where the North Star is, and that is God. And God teaches us, your journey on this life is about life, is about providing life, producing life, maintaining life, sustaining life, prolonging life. We are obsessed with the living to try to help the living live longer and better and meaningful and purposeful. In contrast, what we have seen since October 7, what we have seen since October 7 is a religion that has represented itself as a death cult. They even said it, Hamas said it, that as much as you are obsessed with life, we are obsessed with death. That's a quote. So here is a religion whose whole goal in life is death. We cannot understand that. We can't process that information. We are the opposite polar of it. We're all about life, the living. They're about death, dark, a death cult. And that is the war that we are fighting now. And that is the war that's been going on since Islam wanted to have a caliphate. They wanted to take over the world. They believe that their religion is the religion that the whole world needs to be. See, Judaism doesn't believe in that. Judaism believes our religion is ours. You believe whatever you want. It's okay to have a different theological belief system. We still love you. We still recognize that you are created in God's image. It's okay to be part of a different religion. Live and let live. That's Judaism. Just because you don't believe what I believe in, it doesn't make us any different. We're still children of God. We're still created in God's image. We still have a soul. We still have a mission. We still have a mandate. We still have a goal. And we still have a right to live and to live out our life as long as possible. Being good people, doing goodness and kindness, studying, learning, producing, and being productive, being helpful, and not just squandering away our days in faulties and frivolities, but rather be purposeful and meaningful, that our goal in life should be, what else can we do to help another person? What else can we do to help life? What else can we do to help humanity? This is our goal. So this is the war that we're up against, and this is what the professor was talking about, his experience, how the influence in societies can become by culture or by religion. And just like he grew up in Lebanon, Lebanon has so many different it's changed so many hands over the years. Even right now, there are 10 different religions all fighting with each other. They have always been a melting pot of so many different theological philosophies, but it doesn't mean that you can't coexist and live together. Let's pray, and we hope that just like Isaiah prophesies, that there will be a time that we're all going to live together in peace, that the Messiah is going to reveal himself, and the whole world will recognize each other's belief in one God, and God's name would reign throughout the whole world. No more war, no more starving, no more bigotry, no more racism, no more jealousy, no more illnesses. The lion and the lamb will live together, and we're all going to live peace. This could happen. It will happen. We're praying it for it to happen any single day. Let's hope that the Messiah reveals himself now. God bless you. God loves you.